Okay, so I want to do a video which is just about the logical atomism of Ludwig Wittgenstein in his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus, which is in this book. This book has the Tractatus, the blue and brown books, which are writings in preparations for philosophical investigations, which I have around here somewhere. So I guess there's a logical atomism which he has in this. Now, to kind of, allow you to know if you don't know about this book, the Tractatus is something that is very not clear. He was told he was a genius very, very early on, and wrote this as his dissertation, which would mean he would be admitted, or he would be given his PhD or not. Russell pinned a note to this as he gave it to the committee for review to figure out whether Wittgenstein would get his PhD. Writing down that he was basically a genius, Wittgenstein. So Russell has a book called The Philosophy of Logical Atomism. I have a video on that book. So in this one, I'm not going to read you the things. I was going to do like a guided reading of this, but I don't see how that's helpful because it's just kind of, it's very deep and complex, so I'm just going to try and discuss it in ways that I've been taught and sort of try to understand this linguistic and metaphysical and logical atomism. So what is a logical atomism, whether it be for Russell or for Wittgenstein? It's a metaphysics in that the world is conceived of in logical atoms, or what Wittgenstein would call a atomic fact. For Wittgenstein, atomic facts are made up of objects, and he has a bit of a compositionality in this too, where a complex atom is only understood by what its parts are. So you can have objects that make up atomic facts, and then atomic facts can make chains of atomic facts to make complexes, and you can break those down logically. And this is not, it's logic, because it's logical atomism, because when you do quantified logic, whether you're using functions or not, you're quantifying over objects. Let me try and write something for you to help you understand this. We have let's see here. Okay, so these are kind of, I guess, like a predicate logic kind of thing. This is something that he uses himself. This is kind of a little bit of a expanded version of that. This is A is related to B in terms of R. He wouldn't phrase it that way, though. That's really what it is, though. B and A are related to each other in terms of R. And that's, in today's predicate logic, you would do this as RAB, and you can have RABC or RABCD. You can have these little letters are God, what's the word for them? This is a predicate that quantifies over these objects. That if it's just one, if it's RA, it's saying that A, which is a constant has the property R, and if we have R, A, B, C, A, B, and C are related to each other in terms of R, whatever R is. And that's just kind of trying to explain to you, I guess, what a predicate logic would be, and that's kind of to understand predicate logic is to kind of understand what a logical atomism is. Same thing here, A, R, B, and that's related to C in terms of R. Same with this one. It's saying if there is an X such that f of X, there for all X, f of X or g of X. So that's basic predicate logic is what that is. But the logical atomism is that you understand a state of affairs, or atomic fact, or atomic facts put in chains. You can basically translate that, and you can write that down as in logical terms. The world, there is a logical space of the world. There are objects which make up the substance of the world, and he has a bit of a reductio ad absurdum in here, which is basically that if we can have a picture which is supposed to represent reality, if there is no substance, how can that work? It's more detailed than that, but for my current purposes, that's what it is, briefly. So we have objects which make up the substance of the world, a metaphysical substance. A substance is just the very ground of what the world is. And objects come together to make atomic facts. Atomic facts can chain up to make complexes. And we have different things here which can be discussed. The world is the totality of facts, not things. Now that is logical atomism, in that a fact is understood in terms of a logical sentence or logical proposition. You can, if I know that there is an elephant that is pink and there is an elephant that is gray, I can quantify that. I can translate that. I can translate facts into logical things. That's kind of how that's related to the logical space of the world. What the logical space of the world is. It is essential to a thing that it can be a constituent part of an atomic fact. And he also has a bit of a actuality, potentiality thing. There are no accidents in logic, and if it can be conceived, and then in a way it is because of its possibility. There are no accidents in that. There are no things that you cannot conceive of. If you can conceive of it, then it has its place in logic, and it is either possibly, or it is either potentially or actually, think of a square circle. A square circle is not something that can be understood or grasped by the mind. So, there's something that cannot be understood in logic because it has no grounding in logic. And the Vienna Circle, which were the group of people which kind of which was the logical positivist movement of the 20s and the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, and then it kind of wasn't really so much anymore after the 40s. But those people kind of followed Wittgenstein in that they kind of were the renewed empiricists, in that nothing can be understood apart from it being observed. Like the metaphysical talk of Hegel, or even Kant, or Leibniz, or Descartes, or Heidegger. That stuff cannot be I guess, understood or grounded in any kind of empirical observation. Same thing, it's a similar thing here in that if you cannot understand it and conceive of it in logic, in the logical space of the world, then it has no place in our discourse. 2.021. Objects form the substance of the world, therefore they cannot be compound. This is where he's doing the reductio. Substance is what exists independently of what is the case. And he has a bit of a holomorphism here too, where we have a concrete thing and we have a form. We have a thing and form. The object, the specific object, and then when there are forms of things like space and time and color are forms of objects. The form is the possibility of the structure. We make to ourselves pictures of facts. Now this is picture theory. Chad African has some pretty good videos on Wittgenstein. Picture theory is that we make to ourselves pictures of facts. We make pictures that are supposed to represent the world, and they are compared to reality as to how well they correspond. And that's kind of, I want to do a separate video about his correspondence theory of truth, but because that also has to do with this picture theory. Thus, the picture is linked with reality; it reaches up to it. It is like a scale applied to reality. In order to be a picture, a fact must have something in common with what it pictures. The picture represents its object from without. Therefore, the picture represents its object rightly or falsely. Okay. If the form of representation is the logical form, then the picture is called a logical picture. Logical picture can depict the world. So we also have a thought. A thought is a logical picture of the facts. The totality of true thoughts is a picture of the world. And we have a proposition. A proposition, in the proposition, the thought is expressed perceptibly through the senses. And he talks about signs and symbols and expressions. And there is a lot of there's a linguistic atomism in there too, where you can, I'm mostly interested in this video with the more metaphysical part of it, the logical atomism that is most similar to Russell's. But the linguistic atomism that is here is that we have a sign and we have a symbol, and a sign represents something. A name is a concrete something, like Nixon or Homer Simpson. Concrete objects, concrete things. And then those things, the thought has a part in that, and that is what a preposition has to do with that too, and symbols and signs and names, and you can see how there's a linguistic and a metaphysical part in this. And there's more to the picture, but I just wanted to kind of lay out what his metaphysical logical atomism is. And there's way more. I'm not saying that this is like a definitive way of going at this, because there's so much more to this, and there's so much more interpretation that can be done and has been done. So I recommend that you read it and look at it, and then figure it out for yourself. Comment below if you have any questions.